and gentlemen, welcome to Talking Initiative. This is a new podcast we're doing for the Resonate Gaming Groups. My name is Xander Simpson. I DM for Adventures of Archford, and the upcoming Independence of Arlem. Joining me is my regular co-host. Introduce yourself.
I'm Sushi. Let's just leave it at that.
He's also a fellow player on Adventures of Archford, and he was like so ready to play. He was so ready to be on the podcast. He was like, "You're doing a podcast, dude. I want to be on it." I'm like, "All right, let's do this." So
I wasn't so ready, to be honest. I didn't have a cam at the time you
yeah,
suggested
we had to
that.
wait a week, but yeah. So we're very glad to be here and to be on the show. Me and him will be on most of the shows, and there's occasionally, like, such as on next week's episode, he will not be there, but I will be interviewing a guest, and I don't have pronunciation for the guest's name, and I don't feel like butchering it today. He created an RPG called Power Outage, and I wanted to interview him about it. So how did you get involved in role playing games, Sushi?
Me, it was a long story, but for me, the introduction to roleplay games came through Warhammer. All the way 4 years ago, I was introduced. 5 years ago, sorry, I was introduced to Warhammer Fantasy, and through that organically to Warhammer 40,000, and from there to the Warhammer 40,000 role-playing systems. So, for those who don't know, the Warhammer 40,000 role-playing systems is a D100 based system that is a bit more complex than D&D, and is very much tasking as on the player as on the GM. I never started as a player, I never had a mentor. I just went straight ahead, read all the books, tried to run a game, failed spectacularly, and it kind of went from there, as it does.
Yeah, my introduction for role-playing games started with my family / family friends, my dad, my mom, my brother, and my sister, and my family friends. My dad's best friend, who's his name's Chris, and so we started role-playing games from there. Or I did. They were already into it. They were into it before. So anyways, I started playing that D&D 3.5. I played one campaign of D&D 3.5. I mean, I had a fun time from what I played, and I hope eventually I can get back into 3.5, doing at least one 3.5 game, because that'd be interesting. And maybe we'll do it on Resonate Gaming Groups. Maybe we'll have one on there. But no, so yeah, so that's how I started. And then I went on to Pathfinder. I played a little bit of Pathfinder at my local gaming store, Game Over Comics. A little plugless shame there, or shameless plug. Wow, I just said plugless shame. That's great. A little shameless plug there. But yeah, so I started with them, and now I am doing D&D 5e. And then after I started D&D 5e, I kind of went back to my family friend group, and we started playing 5e. And I was the expert of the group. But yeah, so that's pretty much how I started role-playing games. Are there any
familiar with 3.5? It's a great system.
Yeah, sure. So are there any are there oh shoot, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. Do you have any interesting stories that you can tell us from all the times that you've played? Because I haven't really been playing as long as you, I don't think.
Yes, I have I had one campaign that ran for D&D 5e that I will always remember, which is a campaign that I started with two of my very close friends. Well, yeah, I started with two of my very close friends, if you could call them that, and it was their first time ever playing D&D 5e, D&D in general. And they didn't quite know what party balance was. They didn't know that you need a tank. They didn't know that certain spells are not good. They didn't know that how the world worked. So the party composition was exactly one monk and one wizard. a wizard of transmutation to be precise, and a monk of the Way of the Open Hand. It started heroic enough, but I suppose the funniest thing was that after the wizard has met mind flayers at a later level and fiends, he came to me during the game and he said, I want to create a goal for the rest of the campaign. I'm like, great, it's character goals, it's character development. What could be better? Go ahead. And he's like, DM, I would want to. They live in different planes, right? Well, the Underdark is not technically a plane, but yes, I want to merge the Abyss and the Underdark for them to fight in an eternal genocidal war with each other and never bother me again. That was great. It was a level 4, and it was a level 6 character saying that. A level 18, I regretted saying, you can try.
Yeah, so there's I have two stories that I can tell. The first story comes whenever this is kind of a less fortunate story, but whenever I started playing, whenever I started GMing Pathfinder, and it was actually, no, it was before the Resonate Gaming Groups. Anyway, so I was, we were doing our game or whatever, and then as our game went on, or that one session went on, I introduced myself as the GM and we started talking or whatever. I had like one session's experience of Pathfinder, and I thought I knew well enough to be a GM. So, anyways, so I became so I was GMing for the Pathfinder game, and these two people on here like really hated me, and it was pretty obvious that they hated me. They knew each other. They had each other on Skype. So, anyways, they could tell that I was not very good and I was not very experienced. So they went through and they were like Skype texting each other while we were on Roll20 playing the game, and they were like the guy killed the other girl's character because they plotted this out, and I'm like, what? And she like just jumped out. She's like, well, I've been killed, so I'm leaving. And I was like, what? Dude, come on. This is not okay. And then they just shifted on, and they were like, well, and I got like this long text from the guy, and I'm like, I'm done with this group. And then so I Pathfindered again with another group that went successful after that. But yeah, that was my last failure. And then the other story comes from playing 3.5 with my family friends. Like I said, the first session, so my first time playing, I think there was a lizard, some type of lizard. I played as a barbarian. Don't remember his name, which is really odd. I don't remember his name at all. I'll have to pull it from my archives of characters. But yeah, so I played as him, and we were going about or whatever. And my twin sister, my character's twin sister, was interrupted by lizard folk that were just like bugging the party or whatever. And my brother was like, can our barbarian eat the lizard? So I got a chance to eat the lizard on my first session. I was like, this is fun. I was like, thank you very much for this.
Anyone looking forward to a lizard barbecue later this evening?
Yeah, I know, right? We were just like, okay. I was like, this was my first time playing any RPG, tabletop RPG, and I was like, what? And our DM was like, yeah, go ahead. He can, I mean, and I was like, okay, I eat the lizard? Question mark. And it was so funny. Do you have any other stories?
I mean, eating people in PvP, it's stuff that happens.
It is stuff that happens. Those are the two most interesting stories I have. That's pretty bad. No, I haven't had a really like big moments. Other than that one time on Adventures of Ardford where who was it? I think it was Envy. Was it Envy that took his metaphorical sword out of his pants and metaphorically stabbed a goblin? I think I don't remember, but
yeah, it was a goblin. It was a
It was a
goblin.
goblin,
I
yeah.
wasn't there for that session. I wasn't there for that only
Oh,
session.
yeah, that's right, you
And that
weren't.
only session, they managed to rape a goblin.
Yeah. Oh my god, man, I was like, because somebody had said something about charming them, and I was like, I mean, I guess you can if you want to. I'm like, they're pretty I can't even speak. They're pretty weak to like charisma checks. So like, if you roll like even a low number, you'll probably. So he like rolled the charisma. He was like, all right, here's what I do. I pull my pants down. I'm like, don't tell me anymore. Fade to black, because at the time it was PG-13, and I was like, fade to black.
And
he was like, no, I'm just gonna use meta.
and we the players hated you dearly for the PG-13 crap.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and luckily enough for us, we're no longer even on the same platform now. Whenever Adventures of Archward returns, which for the record is going to be the week.
Was out for 2 weeks.
Yeah, we've been out, but yeah, so we're going to be on the same place where you're watching this. Well, if you're watching this as it comes out, then this is going to be the same place you're going to see it. Oh yeah, I meant to tell you guys. I meant to say this in the beginning. So this canon will be found on DLive on Wednesdays, I think. Whatever day you're watching this. It might be a Wednesday, it might be a Thursday. I don't remember what day I already set for this.
I think you said Thursday, if I remember correctly.
I think it's Thursday, yeah. So you guys will see this on Thursday. Fortunately enough, you guys will see it on here Thursday. It'll be available on like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and stuff like that. A day before, so 24 hours before, and then it'll be available on YouTube 24 hours after this. So that's the amazing part about it. It'll be available on YouTube and Twitch both about 24 hours after this. So you guys know where to find the podcast. I meant to say that at the beginning, but I don't. I just brain fart, man. Brain farts.
I suppose it happens to everyone. I mean, some are more often than others. I mean, paladins have them like once every 24 hours minimum.
Yeah. So what would you say? Because we've both been GMs, we've both been players. What is?
I consider myself more GM. Yeah.
What is your greatest creation as a GM?
My greatest creation, I would say it was two things. First of all, it's a world it took me more than 5 years to create. Like to formulate completely, took me more than 5 years. In my mind's eye, it was around for much longer than that. It was around for 7 years before I started putting it to paper, or more accurately, digital documents. And my second would be a plot. The plot was basic as all hell, but I managed to work it just right, and I still consider it to be one of my best games ever run, because by the end, one player was crying, the other was swearing, and the other three were dead, and they were laughing. So that was wonderful. And apparently our CAO has abandoned us for a little while, so I just hope he rejoins us when he finds the time. In. There we go, he's back in.
Sorry, I actually refreshed the tab. That sucks.
No worries. No worries. As I was saying, it was a game I ran. The plot was simple as all hell. I had 4 players. All of them new, first or second time playing 5e. I gave them pre-gen characters, stat-wise characters. They still had the choice of spells and fighting styles and all that, And the plot was basic. It was a 5-session campaign, nothing complicated. And I consider it my best achievement because, as the audience has heard it, as you haven't, by the end of the session, one player was crying, one player was swearing, and 2 players were dead, and they were laughing their ass off like there was no tomorrow. It was pretty great.
It sounds a lot like my games. I would say
Uh,
my greatest creation is the world that all of my games have ever played in. So all of my games that have ever like played together, they're connected somewhere, someplace, sometime, which is really interesting. That they're all connected in some way, shape, or form. Because for a lot of people that watched, well, at least I know the ones that have been on Resonate Gaming Groups, most of them are connected. Which that was pretty much confirmed with Independence of Arlem, and then I don't even remember the Unknowns. That was the name of the game. The Unknowns is the first thing that we ever streamed, and those were connected, and we kind of made it obvious because we said Arlem and Arlen, and then I was like, yeah, so they're connected, guys, and they're like, what? They're connected? I'm like, yeah. So, but yeah, so even Berkwiville is connected to those, and it's like, what? Berkwiville is connected to Arlem and Arlen, yeah, and it's actually really interesting. That's my greatest creation is all the places and stuff together. It's great because they're all connected. They're all at different times, but they're connected. Some of them actually, well, Independence of Arlem and and the Unknowns were actually at the same time, and we made that clear that they were at the same time too. We kind of said that on both programming, like, hey, they're at the same time. And one of the players that was in both is like, they're at the same time. That's really awesome. And I'm like, yeah, you see. But no, so I've had a lot of fun creating worlds. Or creating worlds and towns. What would you say your process for creating worlds and towns are?
um, Worlds and towns are very different things, and I have had a popular, of course, a popular opinion that I've seen among GMs that I've seen, and I can probably pin down that it originates with Matt Mercer, is that the towns are created via you take there's a town there. Why would there be a town there? You go with industry, which kingdom the town's in, and build it from there. For me, it was always more about the massive events, what shaped history. So, for example, if we take uh, common literary examples, if we take Lord of the Rings, let's say one of the uh, one of the key things would be the war with Mordor. So I would say, well, there's a town on the river, and the town is called Osgiliath, and it's there because there needs to be something like a bastion between Mordor and a straight road to Minas Tirith. Now that makes sense. Now make some kind of at least a semi-unique appearance atmosphere to the town. So Gilead is a city on the river with islands in the river. It's completely ruined. On one bank there are the orcs, on the other there are the Gondor soldiers and rangers, the Osgiliath veterans, with Faramir in charge. Um, I would say I developed my world a little bit more Tolkien wise rather than Matt Mercer wise. It's events trigger cities, not cities trigger justification of events.
Yeah, I would say I actually have for like all my towns and villages and cities, and then eventually, I put all those together to make the world. I typically have it all. There's like I have this notebook, and I hope I can one day show it on the podcast. But I have like this notebook, and the notebook has all the information like it's like a packet of of things to create a city or town or such, and some of the items on there are really really great, and it helps you. How do you come up with your quests and ideas to
Okay.
for the stuff that you think the players should get themselves? How do you come up with plot hooks is the best way to
Give
say
me a
it.
second. I also have a notebook. You will see it soon enough. The viewers will see it just right now. This is my notebook, a very nice present from a very nice library in St. Petersburg. do love that particular shop. Now, in terms of quests, I was always a fan of running much more open world games where the players can decide up to themselves. But
Sandboxy, yeah.
yes, but quests for me are mostly about A, location, and B, the plot it connects to the story. So, for example, I'm running currently a game where the player stars commoners. Now, they're supposed to visit something called the Dreadfire Mines. Maybe not the most original name, but it has a meaning behind it, a kind of history. I'm not pretending to be a great author, but it was fun for me to create. Now, I want to share that fun of creation with my players who will explore it. The dungeon itself is the quest they will receive is to clear out a kobold infestation of the dungeon because the kobolds, and they have a personal motivation because the kobolds have destroyed their caravan while they were lagging behind said caravan. It was a bit of railroading on my part, but I mean, sometimes you have to do it.
See, there's a way to railroad without railroading, if you know what I mean. Like, see, you have a lot of ideas. You're like, they could do this, or they could do this, but I kind of really want them to do this right now. So let me put in some motivation behind them and what I think they could be doing right now. And you probably see that during Adventures of Archford. It's a little more railroady than I would like it to be.
Oh yes, I have seen that. Yes.
Yeah, but you can also tell that I'm giving you guys choices. So, like, I'll always be like, what does everybody want to do? Do you guys want to do this? And a lot of times Envy will be like, well, I think this is going to happen, so we should do that. And that's the prime example of motivation. That's the prime example of me saying, something's going to happen here. You might want to do this because something's definitely going to happen. And see, the thing is, no matter what you do, the thing is going to happen. And I kind of set it up where it's like, you guys still have choices. And I kind of want to show the point of, it's sandbox, because you guys can make this choice or this choice. But, this thing is still going to happen either way.
It's more of a living world. The players are in there and they have a choice. But the event will happen regardless of what the players do. Well, unless they can prevent the event somehow. Yeah.
Exactly, and a lot of times I'll make up stuff on the way. I'm like, oh no, I almost killed this person. This person, all these people have died. And you saw that with Adventures of Archford. And I was like, well, I don't want to kill them for a stupid mistake that my co-host on this podcast made. But and so I was like,
okay,
they can revive them. I was like, they can revive. I can revive the rest of them except for Kyle. Or no, you were playing as Kyle was character.
Yes, I was playing as a second character who I honestly don't remember what the old man was called. But to any wizards out there, like right now, no, Percy is the Kenku's name. No, Percy is the Kenku's name. To any wizards right there, out there right now, forget diplomacy. You don't need it. That's for bards and sorcerers and warlocks. All that trash. You have Fireball and fire hands. Use the tools the gods have given you for the intended purpose. Don't flab your tongue unless it's for casting spells.
Yeah. And I think, but yeah, so pointing that out, I was saying about making stuff up on the fly. Like, I don't want to do this. I have to do something, and I'll make something up. Like, for example, I don't remember who it was. Whenever you guys escaped, somebody was in solitary because they tried to escape before. And so I was like, oh man, I got to get them out because they're not going to want to leave if their buddy's not gone. There's no motivation there. I was like, so let's do this, and then so I sent I made it to where you guys could get into solitary to get him without the guards or anything noticing him. But then the guards got you at the end of the game, and that actually wasn't planned either. I was expecting you guys just to leave the prison. I'm like, I have a perfect idea to tie in one of my other plot hooks that I had planned. See, I had set up a choice, and I think I can say this now that you guys have played this. But I set up a choice. I set it up to where either you guys would help with the wall or you guys would leave the guild. And I was kind of hoping you guys would leave the guild or leave the town and stuff. But then I was like, well, now they've chosen this. Here's what their options. And
For the sake of my dead character, I hope I should have left the guild. Really.
I
really do understand.
I forked the options closer to right before we got ready to play. I think it was like 7:50 whenever I made that, or no, it was probably like 7:57 whenever I made that final decision that I was going to fork it out. And I'll do that a lot. I will change my plans right at the end. And I don't have a co-DM anymore, so I don't have a backboard, which I hope to have one soon enough. But I don't have a co-DM, so I don't have a backboard to be like, hey, so what do you think about this idea? So a lot of times I'll be like, this was stupid. Why did I even come up with this? So then I'll, go and at the end I'll be like at 8:57 changing my whole plans. And that one plan, the you guys getting shipped off to another prison, that wasn't planned until right as you guys were escaping. I was like, I gotta do something, gotta add something suspenseful, I gotta add a plot cliffhanger. So you never know how you guys are going to get out of the next prison, or how you guys are going to stay, or anything like that. Which I can give you a little hint. There's not going to be a lot of prison time in the next.
We are not. We are not sitting again.
But if you remember, you guys are in a prison outside of the wall, which means that this
the wall is gone.
The wall's gone, yeah. Possibly. It might be gone, but then again, they could have lied to you guys whenever they arrested you. Think about that. I'm coming up with stuff on the fly, right here, right now. See, none of this is even planned either. All of this is on the fly. Even right now, I'm like, I could do this, or I could do that. And I enjoy it a lot. But yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot... There's a lot that goes into planning out a game and preparing everything. But yeah, so I think that gets our introductions out of the way. That gets most of our pilot episode stuff out of the way. For the record, the show is going to be 30 minutes. This podcast is going to be 30 minutes because who wants to watch an hour long of us discussing role-playing games? Well, a lot of people do, but there's not a lot of time and there's not a lot of topics either, contrary to popular belief. Because we were going to try to stretch this out to an hour, but I don't think an hour is going to work.
We could make it work.
We can stretch it to possibly 40, 45, but I don't think. But yeah, so fine then. What else do you want to talk about on the first episode? Because we're definitely going to have to do an episode where we go over our binders. We're definitely going to have to do that.
Oh, a binder.
We're not going to do that yet. We're going to do that in a later episode. We're going to have a whole episode dedicated to that.
Look, I'm looking around my little room. There is no binder. There was really no binder. I don't use paper storage at all.
I thought you said that you had I thought you said that you had a binder.
I have a book. But let's say it's not that full, A, and B, I really have 3 gigabytes of notes on my computer.
Well, okay, well then we'll do binder / virtual binder.
That I can work with.
We can work with that. We'll have to figure out a way for you to screen cap your
that is no problem at all.
Actually, yeah, that really shouldn't be a problem. I know I'm gonna have my camera just hovering over my binder, but it's going to be very interesting to do that episode, because I mean I do have my binder, but I also do have online storage, so I might show a little bit of my online stuff. But yeah, so what else do you want to talk about on this episode?
I want to mention, how often do you play IRL versus online?
Oh, I play IRL very, very rarely, actually. And you would be surprised with how much stuff I have in my binder compared to how much I have on the computer. You'd be like, wait, but I'm like, yeah, I use my binder stuff for my online stuff too, occasionally. So it's really interesting.
I understand, yes. Oh, I use that book for some stuff I do online as well.
I play IRL probably like every 3 months. I would say once every 3 months probably once every 3, once maybe every 4. And then I play I play online at least once a week. Once Adventures of Ardford gets back together, and that's going to be an interesting experience because there's some extra stuff being added for the viewers to watch better and for the players to like interact better and like everything better.
I'm always here. Remember that.
Yeah. And see, the whole idea behind it was to do the whole idea behind it was to have kind of like, a lot of people love Critical Role. Don't get me wrong, I like Critical Role, and there's a lot of fun to it, but it's a lot less D&D. Like, they say it's D&D, but like, it's a lot less D&D. Because if you pay attention, they use their imagination, which I love. They do use their imagination. They don't really have a lot of graphics or anything like we do, like I do, because
True.
it's my thing. And I nobody on the internet fire up about this, but I've never watched an episode. I think I've seen clips, bits and pieces. They do not even have a combat map, do they?
Actually, they do. From campaign to campaign, it transitioned. They ran it on paper with Matt literally sketching some of the stuff out with whiteboard markers on a piece of paper right before the session or during the session because he didn't expect combat to happen. But there were times when he literally would get a binder with sheets for every single building inside a town for a battle map. Yeah.
See,
in the later they get proper. In the later stages, they get proper 3D modeled map. Like miniature, like proper miniatures, which is really cool, but it's expensive as all hell.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people like listening to Critical Role too. But yeah, I know a lot of people like listening to Critical Role, which, don't get me wrong, I love listening to podcasts. Some of you guys are probably listening to this on podcast platforms, and I would actually be interested in doing something like that for Adventures of Ardford, and who knows, we might actually do that. But whenever it's live on DLive like this, there will be options for people to like, maybe donate a little bit of money and have an NPC named after them, like $2, an NPC's named after you. And maybe like for $4, save a character from a situation or something. It's like, oh, the gods love you, probably because this player loves you, and they're giving you some money, or they're giving the campaign some money. And I'm sure a lot of people have noticed we don't have Roll20 Premium anymore, so it's really hard to do a lot of things. I can't have any of my API scripts anymore, which really sucks.
You cannot have
a lot of stuff like that.
Yes. Dynamic lighting, yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, dynamic lighting too. I hate how we don't have dynamic lighting anymore. However, with getting donations from people for like for naming NPCs and and saving characters, just 4 times saving a character.
Your donations will go to the betterment of everyone's experience. Ours, the GMs, and yours as the viewer, finally.
Yeah, and it helps us do a lot of things. It helps us do a lot of things on there. Man, it's it's really intense to get the campaign going and running and everything, and it's really hard to do it without any funds. You would be surprised. You would really be surprised looking at how I look at it. Plus, our parent company really. Well, I'm not saying it's not impossible. I'm saying to make it an experience to make it an experience for the audience. It's really hard to do. To do something very Critical Role style, it's very hard to do without those donations.
It is. It is very hard.
Man, it's basically, we're also trying to make it where you guys can interact with us like a lot more. Like, for example, during every campaign, during every live stream, we're gonna have somebody on during the during our breaks, we're going to have somebody, and our breaks are going to be a little bit more extensive, but there's only going to be like 2 per session. And we're going to have somebody on there interacting with our live chat, which is going to be really fun. Stuff like that. We're going to have people interacting with the live chat. We're going to have a little bit more live chat interaction during the game. And like I may be like reading a comment on the side while I'm DMing. I might be like, somebody said this. That's great. And then, such as that. And see, one of the good things about going on DLive is in the donations for naming the NPC and naming or saving a character and stuff, that's not through DLive. That's through PayPal. And, well, not just PayPal, but it's also a form provider that I use called JotForm, but they have a PayPal integration, which makes it easier on us. Basically, JotForm is like, hey, somebody just paid money. This is what they're doing, and this is how they're doing it. And I'm like, okay, guys. So this NPC, but no. So it's really fun and really interactive now.
As a DM, get ready for some very stupid names and some very unlikely character saves. That's provided if any of you are gonna ever donate.
Yeah, it's very likely that if you name a character something, we will have to provide you with a refund. Like, because if you name it something like that we cannot say, like, please do not name your character Hitler. Like, we're not gonna save it.
That is a legitimate surname. Why not?
We might not be able to save it, and so we might not use it, and therefore you might either receive a refund or a credit or something, or maybe even nothing, because we're going to have a list of things on there that we won't take into consideration, so you'll know ahead of time, like, no, I can't name it something ridiculous. Like, don't name an NPC after one of the character names. Don't name it after one of the player names. Like, that'd be stupid,
True.
Because then I'm calling the name, and I'm like, and they're like, what? I'm confused. And, those obviously you won't be able to get a refund for, unfortunately, or you'll be able to get a refund for them. We won't be able to use them. So it'll be really interesting to see this work. And I know a lot of the people at Digital Lake Media, who is in charge of Resonant Gaming Groups, is very, very scared whenever it comes to handling money and stuff. So the fact that I'm able to do this, it's pretty, it's pretty far up on my priorities. So it's really interesting. It's going to be a really interesting experience. So.
Well, this quickly turned from a friendly podcast into a company discussion, so...
Yeah, I know. I quickly wanted to note that that this is kind of an important thing, and the game's gonna be a lot better.
Cassandra has a tendency to do that. I suppose he'll be here, or there, or there, or there. I'm really not sure how they're gonna format this, since, basically, at least one of those sides will be legitimate, for he will be at least somewhere. So yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. Oh yeah, and one of the cool things about doing the live XP experience thing, I'm gonna have face cam on the stream. And we can't. It would be really hard to set up the players' face cams if they had them, so we can't do that, unfortunately. For those of them that have face cams, I would love to. I would love to.
You see this? I'm always here with a face cam if you need me.
Yeah, I know, and that's one of the cool things. But yeah, so I mean, Sushi's always has a face cam, and I know some of our current players, Envy, and yeah. So actually, hold on, who all is left in the game? Because I know I think somebody left. I know Envy's still there, and you're still there. Who is it that left? Somebody had to have left, because I'm looking on Discord,
really not sure.
Discord list, and somebody's gone. Other than Albert. No, Albert was the third person, right?
I have no idea, to be honest. Absolutely no idea.
Right? Albert
did leave, yes. He was also the one who was the first responsible for the streaming part.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to do that again. But yeah, so Owlbear's the only other person, right? Owlbear was the only other person. You guys had 3. Yeah, so we're definitely gonna have 2 new members, and I would love to tell you who they are, but I don't even know yet. And we're working something out with Juice from Tabletop Gaming with Juice to come on and do occasional playing spots for the game to give us a little bit more of a name with him and to have a little bit of fun. And to be honest, we're not paying him to do this either. So I was like, hey, so you want to do this? And he was like, yeah, but I mean, I'm moving and I'm doing all this. He was like, I hope you know it'd have to be like occasional. And I'm like, no, we'd love for you to be on. So I'd love for him to make occasional appearances and stuff. So Juice from Tabletop Gaming with Juice will be on. Man, I love it. So how do
I
you
have
feel
no
about
idea
us?
who the guy is.
I know most of the people in the campaign don't, but he actually has a following and we don't. So no, so who
everyone has place to grow, I mean.
Who was I'm trying to think. So how do you feel about us like making it more like Critical Role style?
Define Critical Role, because let's be honest, Critical Role has a couple components that make it work in the way it does work.
One of the ways that Critical Role works that this won't is they have Matt Mercer. We don't. Matt Mercer's phenomenal, man. But no, I mean like with the live experience stuff. With the live experience,
Matt Mercer is one component. I'm sorry to say, Matt, if you're watching this, probably not, but just in case, I'm sorry. Matt Mercer is the GM. He is the showrunner. He does a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid, with normal players, Matt Mercer would not be able to shine as he does with his friends. It's
true.
Very important to have a coherent group, and it's very important to have a group who are comfortable around each other, who are comfortable around the DM, and who are on the same page in terms of role playing. And Critical Role, to a very large degree, the whole bunch of them are very
voice actors. They're voice actors. They are voice actors. That's one of the
part of it.
That's one of the parts about it. But no, I mean like with us making it more interactive. How do you feel about that?
I'm sorry, I missed the word. Interactive, you said?
Interactive, yeah.
I would argue that Critical Role is one of the least interactive streams I have seen. But I wouldn't be against it. I think it's always great.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you want to talk about on the podcast before we cut a close to the podcast?
Right now, I would like to close with one last thing. I realize what you're going for, the whole Critical Role thing, but I also realize that you are not Matt Mercer. I'm very sorry for that. And we are not anywhere close to the hysteria Sam Riegel, or let's say Marisha, or even Liam, sorry Liam, bring to the screen, and the headphones.
What I'm saying is we're making it more interactive. We're making it better than Critical Role. I'd like to say, I would love to say that, but I know it's not true, that it's not going to be better than Critical Role. I mean, it's going to be a different format than Critical Role, but it's going to be a different format than what we usually do. The inspiration was, hey, Critical Role is great, but what if we did something interactive? Because they have their own format. What if we did a different format? And I was like, hey, what if I make it interactive? And that's how that came about.
So, to quickly wrap up, it was an introduction, and it was also a sort of a layout for you guys what the plan will be for the immediate future. And I'm sorry, I'm just writing some stuff down as we go along, because, hey, just as a DM, you get the compulsive need to jot down notes.
Yeah, you do all the time. Somebody will be talking to me. I'm like, hold on, let me write that down. Or I have my phone on me, and I'm like, let me type that out really quickly.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's great. Even like players will remind me about stuff, and because I don't typically, I'm not one of those that'll like write every single like sentence down. So if they're like, "Hey, can you get this to me?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll get it to you," and I'll totally forget about it. And I'm like, "Oh no, I feel so bad," but I also don't at the same time because I asked you to remind me. And they're like, "Yeah, but you know, yeah." So yeah, that's been this podcast episode. Remember, next week, Sushi will not be joining us because Sushi. Because I will be having Sushi will not be able to make it, and I'll be having an interview with Barbars or Barbars.
You see, next week I might as well be able to.
No, next week for the people watching because I'm filming this is being filmed in one day.
Oh yeah, surely, yeah. Then I will make.
You know what I'm talking about because the later recording with. Yeah. We're good. We got this. I understand our thinking, our aligned thinking. But yeah, so we will see all of you guys next time. This has been really fun, really entertaining to be here and doing this. And hey, I thought of this idea and I was like, I don't know if this will work. We'll try it. And hey, it's done pretty well. Hopefully it continues in the following weeks. But yeah, this has been really fun, and we will see all of you guys next time. Good. I've been Xander Simpson. I will see all of you guys next time.
See you guys.
You would wait and watch from far away, but you always knew you'd be